definition, bridge pattern is used to what? Decouple the objects or classes. See, in the abstract factory, you have encapsulated. There, all those classes or objects are going to run dependently. Whereas in case of bridge pattern, what is that we did? We did the reverse process of abstraction. We tried to separate these encapsulated objects or encapsulated classes into what? They are going to be separated. They are going to run independently. Before that, they are all encapsulated into one. Now we are separated all these units. Fine. So what is the intent here? To decouple an abstraction from its implementation so that both can be changed independently. You can run each of those units independently. See now, next one, also known as. Also known as means you can give another name for the bridge. I can give another name for the bridge as handle, or you can also use the name as body. Next we have motivation. In the motivation, we are going to write what the objective. What is it you are going to perform now? Why are you implementing? That is the reason you have to mention here. So consider the implementation of a portable window abstraction in a user interface toolkit. See, your motivation is you are going to implement a small window abstraction where user can interface. It is used for a user toolkit. This abstraction should enable us to write applications that work on both the X window system and presentation manager, IBM's presentation manager. You are going to implement two types of classes here. One is X window system and one is presentation manager platform. But this approach has two drawbacks. While implementing these two classes, there are two drawbacks to be overcome. Those are to support icon windows for both platforms, because I have two platforms here. So we need to support the icon windows for these two platforms. We need to implement two new classes. What are the new classes I need to go for? With respect to X window system, I have to go for X icon window, and with respect to PM, I have to go for PM icon window. Same thing, same example you are going to consider, drawing editor, okay? Second drawback here is it makes client code platform dependent. See, whenever you implement, in the first step, you are going to implement two types of icon windows. What are those? One is X icon and one is PM icon window. While implementing this, we should see whether the client code is dependent or independent. Our aim is to what? We are going to separate the units so that you should be able to run independently. Even then, here the client code is dependent because of the two types of platform here. So whenever a client creates a window, for example, creating an X window object binds the window abstraction to the X window implementation. When the user will create X window object, what happens? It will bind the window abstraction to the X window implementation, that you will understand with the help of these diagrams. So which makes the client code dependent on the X window implementation. So whatever the client will write the code now, that will not run independently. It depends on the implementation, how the designer has implemented this X window icon. That implementation, based on that, the client code is going to be executed. So this in turn makes it harder to port the client code to other platforms. So what happens if only whatever the client has written, that code can be executed only with respect to this X window. So if at all, if you want to go for another platform, it is very difficult. So this is a drawback in the bridge pattern. So let us see how the class diagrams are going to be written here. So we have taken window as a main class name, the parent class name, and we need to go for two types of platforms. What are those? X window and PM window. So we need to inherit the main class into subclass. The parent class is inherited as children class. What are children class? We have X window and PM window. The same diagram, I can go for extension of that. The same class name I have taken window, and the X window and PM window are the children classes. I also included one more children class name as icon window. Again, you can inherit this icon window as X icon window and PM icon window. Let us see. Here we just we tried to show the inheritance. Okay. Now let us understand. Along with the operation, we'll complete the class diagram now. See here, the same thing, same class name I have taken, window as a class name, the main class name. So last class we were discussing now the concept of aggregation. See here, window is, it is a class name which is used as aggregator. I have another class created which is that window implementation. Fine. So in this we have inherited. What is it? This window will, this is aggregator class, whereas this one aggregating. So window will create an instance for window implementation. What is that instance name? IMP. IMP stands for implementation. Fine. So here you can observe, I have also included a coding part. Wherever you see this kind of block now with this one, that means it is the implementation part. See here, for the class name window, what are the operations I have taken? I have defined here. I have defined text as a drawing text as one of the operation, drawing rectangle as a second operation. The same thing I am going to develop here because implementation has to be done now. This is just is going to define what is to be done. Window will define to draw a text or to draw a rectangle. Window implementation is going to develop according to the definition given by window. So what are the implementation that window implementation has to develop? It has to develop drawing text and it has to develop drawing line. That is taken care with the help of these children classes. I'll come back to that. So what is the implementation part I have to perform here? With the help of this, these are the operations which I am going to perform by window. These are the return values sent by the window implementation to the class window. What are those? Here I have the implementation for developing drawing line. Same thing. And developing draw line I have shown. One time if you write also it is enough. Fine. Then what else I have? I have inherited this parent class into children class. What are those I have? I have icon window, then transient window. Coming back to this implementation part, I have X window. I have two platforms to be implemented, right? One for X window implementation and another for presentation manager window implementation. For both the case, I will take the operations as development for drawing text, development for drawing line. Same thing here. In case of text line, polygon, rectangle, square, anything you can take. You can write your own example. Fine. So when I talk about icon window, I am going to draw the border. When I am talk about the transient window, I am going to draw the close box. Fine. So the operations, the implementation part with respect to this. Whenever you draw the border similar to a rectangle, you need to draw the rectangle and draw the text. Here with respect to transient window, I have the implementation code for drawing the rectangle. Fine. So the implementation part for this, draw extra line and extra string. So this you can write on your own based on whether you have taken text, line, polygon, square, rectangle, all that. Fine. So what is this you understand from this diagram? Here I have a main class as window, the original class. And this is going to create another class. And this acts as aggregator, whereas window implementation acts as aggregatee. Fine. So here it is going to define the operations text and rectangle, whereas window implementation will develop the code for the operation text and rectangle. And that is done with the help of two platforms. These are the, and this is a parent class I have. I have a children class as X window implementation and PM window implementation. So implementation part is done here. After the execution, you have the result that is returned to the main class, which is window. And I can also go for, this is not compulsory here. So I can also go for the inheritance from window as icon window, transient window, so on. And this part is very important. Window should be there, window implementation should be there, and the children class for the window implementation must be there. And the implementation result should be given back to